Sports Professor Rick Horrow. Welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes beyond, way beyond, the trillion-dollar business of sports with everything that happens off the field. Deals, trades, news, marketing, legal, administrative, all the stuff you want to learn and know about fantasy, it's all here too. If you want to get even more stuff, join us on our Apple Podcast and Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, iTunes feed, everywhere good content is sold or shown or heard. And the bottom line also is if you want our list of 15 to watch, as well as the top 5 issues, as well as the top 5 tech and philanthropy issues at Rick Horrow, horrowsports.com, CSN Mid-Atlantic. That's the old site. The new site is NBC Washington. You can get it anywhere on the NBC family. That's what this podcast is all about. Next couple of weeks, the top issues in 2018 and the top issues to look for in 2019. So you got to mark that on your calendar. Speaking of calendars, this is a big time for a lot of different things, and everybody seems to focus almost exclusively on college football. Too many bowls, oh my, a lot of stuff going on, but not really, because in a bid to attract casual fans and widen its viewership net, College Football Playoff National Championship on January 7 sees the partnership with Interscope Records, and Imagine Dragons plays the halftime show from Vegas's Treasure Island. The fans will get in free. They'll require passes to access Treasure Island, but obviously you see it on TV free. And the college football programming and promotion and game coverage, it's a big deal. And bottom line, by the way, it doesn't even matter that average per-game bowl attendance has declined for 10 straight years. The appetite for bowl bonanza persists because they're all getting what they want, says USA Today. In 1996-97, 18 bowl games. And 5 seasons later, 25. This season, 40. 10 teams with the minimum record necessary to qualify at 6-6. But for 2020 and beyond, discussion has recently intensified around the possible expansion to as many as 86 teams, 44 postseason games, expanding the championship playoff field to 8 teams from 4. One example, the AAC. They want to keep their member schools from being part of the conference and keep them there. They're asking member schools to sign a grant of rights agreement that theoretically would lock them into the conference for the duration of the next media rights deal. University of Central Florida, the league's hottest football team, having just completed another undefeated regular season and booked a spot in the Fiesta Bowl, and the most likely institution to get poached by a major conference. Memphis, Cincinnati, Houston, and USF, other schools with strong athletic teams that might have an interest in jumping elsewhere. The AAC, the American, currently in the midst of a 7-year, $126 million package that's set to run through 2020. Sources noting the media rights deal could be 3 to 4 times higher, but only if the top schools commit to stay. So a little bit of a catch-22. Let's go from college. Let's go to basketball. The Phoenix Suns stay in Arizona, at least for the time being. Talking to the Arizona politicians was a big story in the Arizona Republic, and the struggling Suns in need of renovations to Talking Stick Arena or a new facility. Rumors of their relocation have been floating across the NBA for some time. Suns president and CEO Jason Rowley indicated the team never threatened to leave the Valley, committed to making the deal work in downtown Phoenix, following the Phoenix City Council delaying a vote to renovate the home Suns arena. The deal on the table, $230 million renovation, $37.5 million future repair fund, the goal of bringing Talking Stick on par with other NBA arenas. Rowley confirmed his desire to get the deal done in Phoenix, but did not confirm whether the Suns are currently exploring other cities. Instead, repeated that a deal in Phoenix is the priority. Relocation threats produce leverage, we all know that. But the tactic works much better when the team is winning and revered by the community, which the Suns, by the way, are currently not. And not. What about other NBA deals? Draymond Green and Victor Cruz funds entrepreneurial efforts in Flint, Michigan with an ex-Wall Street executive. Robert Wolf teamed up with 100K Ideas and some of his celebrity athlete friends to create and launch 100K Ventures. 100K Ideas is a Flint-based nonprofit focusing on assessing entrepreneurial ideas before people consider turning them into businesses, and will be funded by investors Green, Cruz, and the founder of the Phenomenal Women Action Campaign, Mina Harris. All of these people brought a bus tour of venture capitalists from the East and West Coast through Flint to showcase the entrepreneurial work being done in the city. Among those venture capitalists was Wolf, who thought it would be a great idea to create an investment fund to support these ideas. Investors are attracted to 100K Ventures because of its unique model to engage and include many people in markets who wouldn't normally have entrepreneurial support. Over time, they aim to expand the accelerator platform to other underserved communities. Nearby, Cleveland Cavaliers owner and Quicken Loans founder Dan Gilbert investing over $5 billion in downtown Detroit. Gilbert has made bringing businesses back to that long-neglected inner city his pet project. We're not done with the NBA, and obviously the NBA is really key because of its international work across the pond, way across. MyGoo in the NBA announces a multi-million-dollar platform content and a marketing partnership in China. The partnership will deliver NBA content to fans in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau across MyGoo and China's mobile-friendly family of media brands. MyGoo's first partnership with a North American sports league, and the two corporations work together to explore new technologies, including 4K resolution and virtual reality, to enhance the NBA content viewing experience. MyGoo will provide fans in mainland China with daily NBA game highlights, behind-the-scenes video, original programming, and classic NBA games on a variety of their assets, as well as grow the junior NBA presence in China. Best of all, in Hong Kong and Macau, MyGoo will be broadcasting live NBA games and carry NBA TV on its platforms. As individual NBA teams have partnered with Chinese live and esports basketball leagues and teams, the NBA has expanded its horizons into one of the world's hottest basketball markets. Other NBA issues, the Orlando Magic, by the way, closer to home, but it's still international, looking for new markets to grow their fan base outside of Central Florida, now looking at Mexico. According to The Atlantic, the team's 2 games in Mexico City are part of the NBA Global Games initiative this past week. They served a real purpose for the club in an attempt to expand its footprint tangibly. From a business standpoint, it makes great sense for us to be there, Magic CEO Alex Martins on the 2-game trip to Mexico. The Magic already focuses on the Brazilian and UK markets, often sending sales reps to those countries to sell vacation packages to see games, which in turn helps the 2 teams' biggest sponsors, Amway and Disney. Mexico serves as a major market for Amway, Disney always looking to expand its household presence around the globe. Magic beat the Stars, the Utah Jazz, by the way, mixing up the gender of the teams in Utah, on Saturday to sweep their 2-game Mexico City outing, completing the NBA's 28th game played in the country. Let's focus a bit on the Clippers for a couple of reasons. First, the market, and second, their top executive. They're having a very good season so far. No secret that their eyes have already turned to the offseason. According to the LA Times, the Clippers will have 2 maximum salary deals and slots available this summer, and looking to attract the likes of Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers have some strong selling points already. The group, supported by an owner who spends, Steve Ballmer, a legend who advises, Jerry West, a smart front office, we'll get to that in a minute, a championship head coach doing his best work, and potential Inglewood Arena in the planning. The team's only first-round draft picks this coming year, protected should they make the NBA lottery, though tanking is not in their plans. Our fans can and should expect more than that, said Ballmer. It also should be attractive to players. You come here, we play to win every year. The Clippers clearly not the only LA team eyeing Durant and Leonard. The Lakers regularly assumed to be in the mix for all of this. But by the way, our interview today, good timing, it focuses on somebody who has been a friend for years and the top executive with the Clippers, one of the top executives in LA, Gillian Zucker, who has been the president of business operations of the team since 2014, but she was also the president of Auto Club Speedway, the NASCAR-sanctioned racetrack in Fontana, California, about 55 miles east of L.A., but she was lured by the Clippers in November of 2014, coming up on 5 years. She's also serving on the L.A. Sports and Entertainment Commission, the Travel and Tourism Commission of California, appointed by the L.A. Convention to the L.A. Convention Center Board by Eric Garcetti, the mayor of L.A. She is clearly one of the best business executives in the NBA at the right time to guide the Clippers to their next step. Here's Gillian Zucker.
Rick Horrow in the boardroom beyond the scoreboard. NBA season not underway yet, but you can feel it. It seems like it just ended, but that's a 12-month cycle these days to maximize revenue. And a person who I count as a good friend who has moved into a position of significant leadership in the NBA with the Los Angeles Clippers, Gillian Zucker, hired by the Clippers on November 6, 2014, and never looked back. She was at the Auto Club Speedway, ran that, and one of the foremost, you hate to say foremost women executives in sports. That's not an appropriate title. She's one of the foremost executives in sports. How does that sound?
Thanks, Rick. I love that. I don't know if I've earned that title, but I love the way that you've said that. No qualifiers.
You most certainly earned that title with no qualifiers. So it's been, and it is hard to believe, we talked about it off the air, almost 4 years since you left the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana and took this job on. And before we even start getting into branding and otherwise, has it been all you expected it to be? Any surprises? Happy with it?
No, it has not been what I expected it to be. It has been so much more. It's really extraordinary to be a part of the NBA. I think especially during this moment in time, how exciting this league is, how collaborative it is, how focused it is on community and fans and innovation and technology and what's next. And it's really been a delight, and I would say that coupled with the opportunity to work with, I think, one of the greatest business minds of our day, Steve Ballmer, has just been more than I could have imagined.
Well, the brand has certainly evolved from the sale day, let's say, under Steve Ballmer's ownership and your stewardship. Where do you see the brand going?
You know, it's a great question, and it's one that I think that after 4 years, we feel very confident in being able to answer. So, you know, when you look back at when Steve took over the team and I first started here, you sort of have this dream that there's an ownership change and then blink, there's a brand change that goes along with it. But in today's society, it doesn't work that way. You really have to prove authentically that you are something different before you become that. And I think that's really what we've set out to do over the past 4 years is be out in the community and take the kind of actions on the court and off the court that define the type of team that we are today and that we will be for the future. And with that has come a pretty exhaustive brand study to understand how fans, not just here in the region, think about us, but how they think about us nationally and how they think about us internationally, and really to maximize the opportunities that are there. And we, I think, have been able to find a place that we feel very strongly matches with the community where we are, this idea that LA is this place of dreamers, that people come to knowing that they've got an idea or something that they want to be or be a part of, and that it's going to be really hard and really competitive. But they're going to get there anyway, despite whatever odds they face. They're going to just keep working and working and working and find a way, and that's exactly what the Clippers are about.
So I guess it's 11 million people. I'm not good on my sense-I, but they got Rams, Chargers, LeBron, Olympics, World Cup, LAFC, on and on. How does the competition affect the Clippers' business strategy? Do you collaborate or do you consider these folks competitive?
We're all friends. In fact, the leaders of all 11 of the professional teams here in LA, plus we've got the two major college programs, as you mentioned, the Olympics. So there's so many things that are battling for people's attention and entertainment dollar, but each of us are different. And, you know, this is a community that's actually grown. So we're talking about 17.5 million people in the DMA. That's enough for everybody to be successful, particularly since, you know, we really do have different demos in a lot of ways and different seasons. So we've all been able to really work together. Of course, when it comes to the other NBA team in town, we're very competitive on the court. We don't want to lose there, but off the court, very collaborative.
See, you added 6 million people from the beginning of that question when I only said there were 11. That's not bad. The NBA, when you think about it, it's always being compared to the NFL as 1 and 1A, and now there are these articles which are fairly meaningless, but they talk about the NBA having the better business profile these days, better reputation. You're seeing the stance on embracing sports gambling and esports. What's your perspective on the health of the NBA business overall and specific trends as well?
Well, I think the NBA, it's a very exciting time for the sport right now. And credit for that, goes to David Stern, but especially to Adam Silver and really what he's done with his stewardship of the sport since he became commissioner. And I think really where he's unique is in his perspective on how he thinks about the league, which is really looking at the world and what's changing globally, what's changing with behaviors of young people, and how the sport is going to change with them. So constant innovation, constant thinking about, how are we going to be better tomorrow? And that aligns so closely with the Clippers brand and what we're about. I think it's part of why, we're so excited about having a place in the NBA and what's going on in the league right now.
And obviously the examples of the front-running stance relative to the quagmire that was sports gambling now with the MGM deal sounds like you're all headed in the right direction. Is there a long-term understanding of how the gambling revenue and process is going to play out?
I'm not sure that anybody has a clear perspective on that yet. There's an evolution that's going on, and it's going to be one, I think, that takes place slowly. My guess is California will be one of the later adopters, given that it's going to require a legislation change in order to implement here.
Yeah, and obviously, it's going to evolve all over the country. It is important to note that the NBA has been out ahead and will continue to be out ahead in the right way. Let's talk philanthropy for a second. How important is doing great by doing good, and how important is philanthropy in your day-to-day business beyond just traditional ROI?
It's a huge part of what we think about at the Clippers, and a lot of that is really because of Steve and Connie, who have been focused on how utilizing a sports brand, you can extend the value and reach of whatever impact you're able to make in the community. And we've launched on some programs that I think are really quite unique to sports foundations, things that maybe are outside of the traditional wheelhouse. We have things that are clearly within our target area, but for example, we started a program about 3 years ago where we took 5 schools that were in one of the more disadvantaged areas of Los Angeles, and we built a mobile van that we brought to the schools, and we tested every child in these schools for vision issues. And what we found was that this extraordinary number of them in first through third grade, about 30% of them had undiagnosed vision issues. And these are things that lead to misdiagnosis of ADHD or learning disadvantages. And, if it just takes a pair of glasses to give a kid a chance, that's something that we wanted to make sure happened. So in addition to having the van there, we also had a choice of all kinds of different fashion lenses. We fit the kids right there in the van and then came back and brought them their new glasses. And it was really quite an extraordinary program. I mean, being there myself with several of our players and handing out these glasses to many kids who didn't know that they couldn't see, and then they put them on for the first time, and the looks on their faces was something that, is an emotion you just can't capture. So we've been able to expand that program. First, we took it to the city of Inglewood and to check to see if we could scale it. We went to every child, kindergarten through 12th grade, and tested them all. It's about 12,000 kids in that school district. Then a year ago, we took it to Long Beach and finished that program there with about 80,000 kids. And then, just this past season, we had announced that we're taking on the big kahuna, all 640,000 kids at LAUSD, and we'll be doing the same. So, effectively solving the vision issue for youth in Los Angeles permanently, because after the first time they're tested, we have a program that is in place that we've tapped through legislature and insurance that helps make sure that they keep their glasses up to date.
What have you done for me lately? It's a huge program, and I guess one of the pressures that always befalls an executive is the tension between doing all of this and spending whatever it takes and seeing some direct benefit with ROI. I guess from the top, you don't feel that much pressure because there is always the incentive to do the right thing and make sure you do it well.
I think, our overall philosophy from a team perspective is that community is brand building, and that these types of things that you can do, important things that really make a difference, and it may be for many of these people that they will never come to a game. They won't step foot in the arena. They couldn't name our coach. They don't know the name of a single one of our players, but they're still really, really glad that the Clippers are in their hometown, and that's really what we're going for.
Obviously. You came to pro basketball after many years at Fontana Auto Club Speedway, and give me your comparison of the skills and experience, similarities, differences. How did that 9 years prepare you for these 4?
In so many ways, and I think probably the biggest one is the experience of, from the very beginning, building and opening of the Kansas Speedway. That project has really served me well over the past, say, year and a half or so as we've been exploring building a new arena in the city of Inglewood. And having had the experience of having gone through that process, so many things of what I've seen there we're experiencing again. But if I also took all of the operations experience in running events of the magnitude of these NASCAR races, and being able to really think about how those operations work as you're able to build an arena from scratch and worry about the things that, I think many times get looked at after the fact as opposed to from the very beginning. What is the flow of trash as you're constructing the facility so that you can be sure that it doesn't cross over the areas where fans will be interacting. They seem like they're small things, but I think they end up being very big, and it gives me a lot of confidence that ultimately we are going to end up with this magical place that Steve envisions, the best basketball facility anywhere in the world.
Next in line. So, yeah.
We can't wait.
Yeah, I understand. As the new school year begins, obviously you are a mentor and an inspiration to other women. What advice would you give to young women considering a career in sports?
It's funny. I am asked this type of question a lot, and I've come to embrace it more and more, particularly over the course of the past year as we've developed our relationship with Bumble. It's really talked about female empowerment and this idea that there are so many women who are their own worst enemies, that they sort of look out at something and say, wow, I would love to do that, but somehow they don't believe they're capable of doing it. And, what I think is important, especially for young people, is to have those dreams, but part of those dreams should be, and I am capable. I can do this.
Yep, and they should look up to you to do that. And I guess the final really important question for you is you graduate Hamilton College in New York, and what is someone who has a degree in creative writing and religious studies doing running one of the foremost sports properties in the world? How did that happen?
Rick, I am a huge proponent of a liberal arts education. I think that, you're looking at kids who are 17, 18 years old, and you ask them to make a decision about what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And the idea that they would know that answer at that age, I think, is just unfair. But a liberal arts education gives you the foundation to really know who you are and to learn skills that can translate into almost any field. If you can learn to speak well, to write well, to think well, to be able to create a convincing argument, these are the types of things that a liberal arts education provides, and it really gives you the opportunity to do absolutely anything in your future. So unless you're very specific about the idea that, you have something that you're so passionate about, that's your dream, I feel like a liberal arts education is really the best way to go.
And you clearly took it to a level that is beneficial for the city of Los Angeles, the NBA, the Lakers, and everybody else. Gillian Zucker, wonderful speaking with you. Rick Horrow, speak with you soon.
Well, clearly Gillian's perspective is philanthropic, It's also business-wise, and you hear about the slots that they've got as far as salaries, and the sky is the limit for the LA Clippers. Let's talk NFL. The Raiders are looking for a new home, and they withdrew for a tentative deal to stay in Oakland for the 19 season, which is the only new home they care about. I was in Vegas last week for the winter meetings and saw their stadium being built before my eyes, getting ready for 2020. But where do they play in 2019? The threat to find somewhere else to play next year if the city files suit became reality. They did, and they are. The Raiders could potentially move to Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, home to the Niners, play in the NFL-less San Diego for a season, or even move to a university stadium in Vegas a year ahead of schedule. While none of the options are without major complications, the team intent on packing up and moving as opposed to staying in the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum for another year. And if you've been in that stadium for any period of time, you will know exactly what I mean. Shifting to baseball, but we'll start with stadiums. The drama for the Tampa Bay Rays in their conquest to build a new stadium continues after claiming that the plan to build a ballpark in Ybor City is no longer viable. The Tampa Bay Times said club owner Stuart Sternberg claimed that Ybor City's proposal for an $892 million ballpark lacked certain details that kept the team from committing to it by the end of the year. He also said the team doesn't see enough progress to ask St. Pete for an extension on its December 31 deadline to negotiate a new ballpark site in Pinellas County. The Ybor City plan calls for the Rays to pay half the cost of the new ballpark, reaching a maximum of $475 million. The team has yet to say whether they're willing to shell out that money or not. Financing remains the biggest hurdle in a quest to finally build a stadium. Well, yeah, it does everywhere, except the only difference here, we're running out of time. Major League Baseball issues transcend as well. MLB auction benefiting the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and helping pay for vandalism. According to the Kansas City Star, the recent 2018 Winter Meetings charity auction benefited Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. The auction was organized between MLB, its 30 teams, and MLB Network. The timing couldn't be better. Vandals cut a water pipe at the Buck O'Neill Research and Education Center this past summer. Museum President Bob Kendrick said the money generated from the auction will go toward fixing the damage. Among the many items up for sale at the auction, 4 tickets to the MLB All-Star Game and festivities taking place and batting practice at Wrigley Field, meet and greets with various players like Mike Trout, Eric Hosmer, and others. In its lifetime, the charity auction has raised $1.15 million. The need to preserve the Negro League's legacy is paramount in a sport that's seen declining numbers of African American players. But we always talk about youth sports, and here's a positive note. The Ripken Foundation added again. The City of Toledo, Ohio, teams up with Cal Ripken Senior Foundation to design and construct the new Youth Development Park. The sports facility features a 75,000 square foot multi-sport synthetic turf field used for football, soccer, baseball, and softball to provide local youth with a safe outdoor place to play. The Ripken Foundation facility at Danny Thomas Park serves as a central location for the YMCA of Greater Toledo and the Believe Center programs, where local youth organizations help thousands of at-risk youth exposed to high crime in their areas. Complex expected to be in place by the late next summer area. Dan Towers and Group 1001 with a generous Kickstart gift, as we've reported earlier. This development, the first from Ripken in the state of Ohio, and the 82nd Ripken Sporting Facility across the U.S. 3 more quick notes. First, golf. The LPGA at it again. Cemented plans for the 2019 season, lining up a schedule including 33 official events, as well as the biennial Solheim Cup. The Women's Tour visits 15 states, 12 countries, and offers a record $70.5 million in official prize money, up from $65.5 million last year. With the season's biggest purses coming at the U.S. Open Championship and the season-ending CMA Group Tour Championship, both $5 million at stake. The 2019 season features 4 new tournaments, including the inaugural Diamond Resorts Tournament of Champions presented by Insurance Office of America, kicking off the year January 17 through 20. We're in one of the most exciting periods of time in LPGA history, says LPGA Commissioner Mike Wan. One look at our 2018 season shows the breadth of our global talent on our tour, and I have no doubt that the 2019 season continues this upward trend. We're not only proud of our tour growth, but also the growth of our LPGA teachers, amateurs, and girls golf efforts. Initiatives to benefit girls both on and off course continues to be a priority for Juan and his staff. As you look at the numbers, one of the biggest issues is the growth and prestige of the STEM-focused Indie Women in Tech presented by Group 1001 tournament, moving to September in this year. Well, the golf world isn't just focusing on the women. The men's events are pretty significant too. But as you move to the golf season and as we focus on other issues beyond the golf tour, let's focus on one of the up-and-coming sports that we always have, the PGA's American Family Insurance Championships, as it focuses on charity, just like the PGA does. Third year, only $2 million for charity, increase of about $500,000 from last year. The American Family Children's Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin, funded primarily by charity, this year certainly helps. Scott McCarron, among one of the notable names, is tournament winner, featured championship host and player Steve Stricker. And the event was at the University Ridge Golf Course in Madison. Next year, McCarron returns as defending champion. Stricker will play in the tournament for the 3rd time, while the charitable funds seem to continue to grow for the Wisconsin-based tournament. Let's focus on soccer for just a minute. La Liga remains optimistic about its North American prospects despite the regular season match between Barcelona and Girona falling through. January 26 event called off by Barcelona after recognizing lack of consensus around the proposal. And the proposal was to bring top flight events not only to the Hard Rock Stadium and Steve Ross's group as usual, but media rights, content strategy, youth development, LA, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, and another to be determined market. Soccer has long been king of all sports around the globe. Quite refreshing to see one of the world's premier soccer leagues taking a page from the not-so-beautiful American sports strategy. See what happens in the future. Hopefully get this all back on track. Speaking of some strategic issues, the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar may or may not feature 32 or 48 teams. They've got issues, weather, crunched down to 28 instead of the normal 31-day schedule. Qatar still in the construction phase of the majority of its stadiums. 2 more yet to be announced. And still not adequately addressed, the vast infrastructure of hotels, transport, food service, medical care, and security needed to accommodate the athletes, officials, staff, family, friends, and business partners of the 32 teams, let alone 48. The Canada-Mexico-U.S. bid in 2026 will have 48, but that's primarily because it is stable infrastructure and the facilities already built. Let's finally look at esports. Sports entertainment company Topgolf teams with Chinese electronics company TCL to add esports lounges to 6 of its venues. The first TCL esports lounge opens in Vegas in early 2019. Austin, Houston, Charlotte, Minneapolis, Scottsdale follow suit. The partnership expects to reach more than 63 million guests annually. A future endeavor for Topgolf is to partner with national esports leagues to host official events and competitions. Meanwhile, they've announced a partnership with Super League Gaming, an organization dedicated to amateur sports competitions. This partnership not only expands Topgolf overseas, but helps to further the company's platform of inclusivity for guests of all backgrounds and skill levels. Finally, esports, looking back at this year, 4 of the world's biggest esports events accumulated 190.1 million hours, or over 21,000 years worth of live streams. Newzoo, the global provider of games and esports analytics, showed nearly a 7% growth across the esports industry. And the League of Legends World Championship, 81.1 million hours watched, was 2018's biggest tournament by live hours, consumed across Twitch and YouTube gaming. While the eSport League major, Boston was second, attracting 54.1 million hours watched. Viewers also watched the majority of 5.6 million hours of the inaugural Overwatch League finals on Twitch, reportedly paid $90 million to stream the Overwatch League in a 2-year media rights deal. Conviva reported 5.5 billion viewing hours during the quarterfinal between France and Argentina during the 2018 FIFA Cup. And esports are well on their way to become heavily marketed events with sponsors just like soccer and any other live sport. Again, the sky is the limit for major sports doing major things, and esport is no exception. We'd like to thank Gillian Zucker. I'd like to thank Dan Martin and Tanner Simpkins for putting this together. We'd like to thank you for listening and watching to us during the year, heading into the holidays, the best of 2018 and the best to look forward to in 2019. And won't you join us when we go Beyond the Scoreboard?